Okay boys, now up till now we have finished the hydraulic circuits, and near about we have seen the 12 different hydraulic circuit, right? I hope everyone has gone through the lecture. That is the fifth video in which I posted the hydraulic circuit for shaping machine, hydraulic circuit for milling machine, and hydraulic circuit for what you can say, the dual pump unloading hydraulic circuit. Now today we have conducted one small objective type of the test, and I'm very happy that near about 70 students from the three classes, class A, class B and class second shift, near about 70 students participated in that online objective type test, and they performed very well. Some of the students again did the cheating. They copied the answers from somewhere else and posted. So this is not good thing, boys. Those who have done such type of the things, they should not do the same type of things in future. And whatever the things we are telling to you, you do it personally without copying from anywhere else. So boys, up till now we have finished some important parts of the hydraulic, and today we are going to finish one remaining part related with the hydraulics. So in hydraulics we have seen the different type of the pumps, we have seen the filters, we have seen the direction control valves construction and their symbols of direction control valves. We have also finished pressure relief valves, or we can call it as pressure control valves. We have also finished the flow control valves. The one part that was remaining in hydraulics, which is known as the actuators. Now in today's lecture I am going to deal with the actuators which are used in the hydraulic circuits or the hydraulics. So let us start actuators. Okay boys, now when we talk about the hydraulic actuators, so basically there are the two type of the hydraulic actuators we see. There are three types, but mostly the two type of the hydraulic actuators are used. The one type of the hydraulic which is known as the linear actuators. In linear actuators we will get the linear motion, like the motion we will get in a straight line, that the horizontal movement or the vertical movement. So when the motion is obtained in a straight line, that type of actuator I will call it is known as the linear actuator. Another one type of the actuator is known as the rotary actuator. So rotary actuator is nothing but it is a device in which we get the rotary motion. So we have, if suppose we want to rotate something, for that purpose I will go for the rotary hydraulic actuator. Alright, so there I will go to get the clockwise rotary motion or anti-clockwise rotary motion. So basically the hydraulic actuators are classified as linear actuator and rotary actuator. And again there is a third type which is known as the limited rotary actuator. Now when I talk about the limited rotary actuator, it means that in this actuator we are getting the rotary motion, but that rotary motion is limited up to certain angle. It is not complete, one complete revolution is not taking place. So we are moving that actuator with some angle, like 45 degree, 60 degree or 70 degree or 75 degree. That much only the motion of the actuator will take place, and therefore it is known as the limited rotary actuator. So basically there are the three types. Now when we talk about the actuators, so what is exactly the actuator? You can see that hydraulic actuators are nothing but the devices which converts the power of pressurized hydraulic oil. Whatever the hydraulic oil, pressurized hydraulic oil that is coming from the pump through direction control valve, through flow control valve, when that oil enters into the actuator, that high pressurized hydraulic oil into useful work, it is converted into some useful mechanical work, right? And the useful work is obtained through the force and motion of the actuator. So basically what the actuator do, actuator takes the pressurized hydraulic oil, and whatever the hydraulic energy that oil consists, that energy is converted into the useful mechanical work. And what is the mechanical work done is nothing but it is the displacement per unit time, right? So we get the displacement, either that displacement will be linear displacement or that displacement will be the rotary displacement. So that is the main function of the what you can say the actuator. And through this displacement we can generate some amount of the force or the motion, and therefore that is the basic function of the actuator. Now hydraulic actuators are broadly classified into two categories, as already I mentioned: hydraulic cylinders, or they are known as the linear actuators. Sometimes they are also known as the linear motors. Second type, it is known as the hydraulic motors, also known as rotary actuator. So whenever you might have seen that whenever the linear motion we require, we call it is known, we require hydraulic cylinder, that is the linear actuator. But whenever we require the rotary motion, right, so in case of the rotary motion, whatever the actuator we are using, that actuator, rotary actuator, is named as hydraulic motor. So please remember that whenever there will be the question hydraulic motor, so hydraulic motor means what? It is nothing but it is the rotary hydraulic actuator which is giving me the rotary motion, right? So that is known as the hydraulic motor. And third type of the actuator is known as limited rotary actuator. So here we will get the limited, or in certain degree we will get the rotary motion, that is known as the limited rotary actuator. So now we'll go into the details. Now when I talk about the linear actuators, so you can see here linear actuators. So what is the linear actuator? Generally it is known as the hydraulic cylinders, right? So there are certain type of the hydraulic cylinders. So what are that hydraulic cylinders? You can see that the first type of hydraulic cylinder is known as single acting single piston rod hydraulic cylinder. It is known as SA cylinder. SA means single acting, and single piston rod hydraulic cylinder. So that is known as the single acting single piston rod cylinder. Another one type of the hydraulic cylinder is known as the single acting ram. It is known as the single acting ram. What is ram? That I will explain you later on. The third type of the hydraulic cylinder is known as the double acting single piston rod cylinder. So it is known as the DA cylinder. Whenever the word will come DA cylinder, it means it is nothing but it is the double acting hydraulic cylinder. And whenever you will come across the word SA, means what? Single acting hydraulic cylinder, right? So double acting single piston rod hydraulic cylinder. Then fourth type is known as double acting double piston rod. Double piston rod means what? I think in one lecture I explained you that double piston rod means what? The piston rod is on the both the side of the cylinder, right? So that is known as the double acting double piston rod hydraulic cylinder. The fifth type of the hydraulic cylinder is known as the tandem cylinder, and the last type is known as the telescopic cylinder. So this is known as the telescopic cylinder. So how the hydraulic cylinders or the linear actuators are classified? They are like this. Here you can see single acting cylinder, single acting ram, then double acting cylinder with double piston rod, then tandem cylinder and telescopic cylinder. Now we will see the construction and working of each and every cylinder in details. So we will see now first single acting cylinder with single piston rod. So here you can see the diagram. Now it is the diagram of single acting single piston rod hydraulic cylinder. So what is the construction part of this hydraulic cylinder? You can see this part is known as the body. So this is the body of the hydraulic cylinder, right? In this body, what is done? There is a one port is provided. So this is the port. This port is the inlet as well as outlet port. So the oil will go through this port and the oil will also come through this port. So inlet and outlet both are taking place in one port. There is only one port for the single acting hydraulic cylinder. This part is known as the piston of the hydraulic cylinder. So this is the piston, and this part is known as the piston rod. So this is the piston rod. Alright, and there is a spring, compression spring is provided. So this is the compression spring is provided. So this is the compression spring is provided here. Right, this is cylinder body. In this cylinder body, the piston is provided. The piston is having the airtight joint. It means that there will not be leakage of oil from this side to this side. So here you will get the airtight joint. Then there is a piston rod, and then there is a spring. Is compression spring is provided here. So that is the simple construction. Now you can see here the three triangles are there. It is nothing but it is the indication of surface finish. So internal part of the hydraulic cylinder is highly finished, so that the motion of the piston or the reciprocating motion of the piston will take place very smoothly, and that is the construction part of the single acting single rod hydraulic cylinder. Now how that working is very simple. Now what happens when the pressurized oil will enter? So when the oil from the hydraulic pump it will pass, generally in this case we are using the 3x2 direction control valve. So 3x2 direction control valve we are using. So when the pressure will hydraulic oil, pressurized hydraulic oil will enter from this side. So what will happen? The oil will come here. This end of the cylinder is known as the blind end, or it is also known as the blank end, right? And this end is known as the rod end. So it is known as the rod end. Please remember, rod end. And always the power is given, or the power is generated at the rod end. So when this rod end will move in this direction, a forward direction, that action will be known as the forward stroke always. So this is the power stroke will take place in the direction. So what happens when the high pressure hydraulic oil will come here? Due to that high pressure hydraulic oil, what will happen? The piston will start moving into the forward direction, and whatever the work is there, that work will be performed, or whatever the motion is, that motion will be generated. So piston will move here till the end of the stroke, and when it will come here, then what I will do? I will change the position of direction control valve. 3x2 direction control valve position is changed. Then when the position is changed, whatever the oil is stored here, that oil will go through this port to the reservoir, and due to this spring force, the piston will return to its original position. So that is the construction and working of single acting single rod hydraulic cylinder. How it is used? So you can see here, this is the symbol. So this is the symbol. Only one port is there, piston is there, piston rod is there, and here this is nothing but it is the spring is shown. So it is the symbol used for single acting cylinder. Now second we will see single acting ram. So there is a slightly difference. Ram word is there. Single acting, it is the construction is similar to the single acting cylinder, but ram. So what is the meaning of the ram? A ram means what? In this ram, this piston and rod end are made from one piece. They are not separate. So here you can see here, the piston may be made from different material and rod end may be made from the different material, and they can be added to each other. But in case of the single acting ram, the piston and what you can say the rod end is of one material, and this piston rod end is known as the plunger, or it is known as the ram. Another one specialty of this ram is there, or the plunger is there. The diameter of this plunger is usually more than half of the piston. So if suppose this is the piston, complete piston, and it is the diameter of the piston, so the diameter of the ram will be more than one half of the piston. So therefore it is known as the ram cylinder. Sometimes it is also known as the ram, or it is known as the single acting ram. So what it consists? It consists of the big plunger, which is known as the ram, whose diameter is nearly more than the 50% of the what you can say the piston, and they both are made from the single material. Now what happens, this is the cylinder body and piston. So in this cylinder what happens, whatever the load is there, that load is directly kept on the piston. So load is directly taken by the piston, and there are the two ports are provided here. So oil will come from this A port. As the pressurized oil will come, it will come here and it will push the plunger into the upward direction, and the load can be lifted with the help of the piston. So this is known as the ram. And in return stroke, again I will change the position of direction control valve, and the oil will move through the port B. So that is the ram. Right. This hydraulic ram type of ram is used in shipyards where you want to raise sorry, when you want to raise or lower the heavy loads, right? In that case, such type of the hydraulic ram is used. So it is used in the shipyards when the very large amount of the cargo is to be loaded. So for that purpose, for lifting and lowering the heavy load, the ram cylinder is used. And this is the symbol of hydraulic ram. So what you can see here, only cylinder is shown, and there is no separate piston and piston rod. Both are shown on the same diameter, and there is only one port is shown. So this is the hydraulic ram single acting. Now we will see what is the double acting cylinder with single piston rod. Please remember, double acting cylinder with single piston rod. When I say single piston rod, it means that the piston rod is only one side of the piston. So this is the construction part of the double acting cylinder. So this is body, you can say it is the body. So body is provided with the two ports. Now here you will get the two port A and port B. Generally port A we call the inlet port, and port B we call it the outlet or the discharge port. Here is the piston. Piston is connected with the piston rod. Then there are the two positions. So this is the left dead position. So it is the extreme position. Piston will come up to here maximum, and it is the right extreme position. The piston will move maximum here, right? So how the working of this double acting cylinder? Very simple. 4x2 direction control valve is used here. When the pump is connected to the A port, the pressurized oil will come here, and due to this pressurized oil, the piston will move into the forward direction. It will perform whatever the work it is supposed to perform. Then afterwards, when again the direction control valve is changed, then the flow of the oil will change. Then pump will be connected to the B port. Now the oil will flow from this direction, and it will push the piston into the backward direction, and from here side the oil will come and it will go to the reservoir. So this is a double acting hydraulic cylinder, and it is the symbol. So you can see very simple symbol of double acting hydraulic cylinder. Understand? Now the double acting cylinder, this is the some important terminology used in the hydraulic cylinder. So capital D is known as the piston diameter. So this is the capital D, which is known as the piston diameter. Small d will be known as the rod end diameter, or it is known as piston rod diameter, and L is known as the stroke length of the cylinder, means how much the travel of the piston will take place. So this is known as the stroke length of the cylinder, right? When suppose we want to find out how much force will be exerted on this end, so that force we call not other force piston will advance. So how much force will be required? So force, pressure is nothing but force divided by area. So force will be nothing but pressure into area. So you can see force is equal to pressure into area. Now if I want to calculate the force required to advance, means to move the piston into the forward direction, it will be given as P into pi by 4 d square. So d means what? The capital D. D means what? You see here, the oil I want to send from here. So from this direction the oil will come. So this complete area will be subjected to the pressure. So this pi by 4 d square, capital D square. So that is the diameter of the piston. So force will be pressure into this area pi by 4 capital D square. But when, how much amount of the force will require to return the piston? So return the piston means what? when the oil will go from this port and it will push the piston into the backward direction. So how much force will be required? So you can see here, this much area of the piston rod will be minus. The pressure only act on this portion and on this portion. So there only the pressure will act, because this is the rod. So here the pressure will not act. So this area will be get minus. So for retardation of the piston, how much force will required? So you can see for force on piston for retardation will be a formula will be same, pressure into area, but the area will change. Now what will be the area? Pi by 4 capital D square. So that is the area of the piston minus pi by 4 D square, that is the area of the rod end. And if I say it, the retardation force will be P into pi divided by 4 into capital D square minus D square. Simply you remember this, retardation force is equal to pressure into area of piston minus area of the rod. So that is the force. Now how much will be the piston speed, that you have to calculate, means by which speed the piston will move forward or it will move into the return direction. So in single acting or double acting cylinder or in any linear actuator, the piston reciprocate, generally reciprocating motion of the piston is taking place. That means it is having linear motion or motion in straight line, and hence it is having linear velocity. So linear velocity or the speed of linear, so it is given in meter per second. Capital V is the speed of piston, L is equal to stroke length of piston in meter, and T is the time required by piston to cover length in the, and therefore velocity will be given as L divided by T, where L is known as the stroke length divided by T is the time required to cover that stroke length, that is the velocity is equal to L by T. Now on which parameter the velocity of the piston will depend, means what, whether the piston will move very fast or whether the piston will move slowly or whether the piston will have the moderate motion, on which parameter that depends. So number one, the speed of the piston depend upon number one parameter, pressure of hydraulic oil created by the pump. So that is the pressure. So when the pressure is higher, then ultimately the speed of the piston will be more. So it depends upon the pressure of the hydraulic oil. Number second, it depends upon the stroke length of the actuator, how much distance it has to travel. And number three, very important, it depends upon the flow rate of hydraulic oil, how much amount of the hydraulic oil entering into the actuator, that will also affect the speed or the velocity of the what you can say, the piston. So that is very important. I hope you understand all these things. Okay. Now the another one part here, after understanding the force exerted for the extension, force exerted for the return, and how the velocity is calculated, we will see now actual construction of double acting cylinder. So this is symbolic representation. Here this you can see, this diagram is nothing but it is the symbolic representation. Only the body is shown, piston is shown, piston rod is shown, and two ports are there, A and B. But when actually the hydraulic cylinders are manufactured, the actual construction of the hydraulic cylinder is somewhat different. Now we'll see how the hydraulic cylinders are actually manufactured, how is their actual construction. Now you can see here, it is the actual construction of hydraulic cylinder. Actual construction of hydraulic cylinder. Now you can see how, what are the important parts here. Same, you can see this is nothing but it is the cylinder body, or it is known as the tube. So this is the cylinder body. So this cylinder body is having the two parts attached to the cylinder. And what are the two parts attached to the cylinder? Two parts attached to the cylinder are two part attached to the cylinder. This is known as the front end cover, or this is the one cover is provided here. So it is known as the front end cover. So this side is blocked by using front end cover, or it is also known as the head end. So it is also known as head end. and another one part is attached here, which is known as the rear end cover. So here you can see it is known as the rear end cover or cap end. So it is the cap end. From here this end is provided, from here this end is provided, and now complete the cylinder is made. Right, this front end cover is provided with one port, that is known as the inlet port. So this is the A port is provided here, and this rear end cover is provided another one port, which is known as the B port. So that is the passage for the oil. So from here the oil will go into the cylinder, and from here also the oil will go into the cylinder. And this is actual the piston made of the cylinder. So this is the piston of the cylinder, and this is the piston rod. The piston rod is provided into the bush. So there will be the bushing will be provided, so that due to continuous reciprocating motion, what happens, due to this reciprocating motion, there are the chances of wear and tear, and therefore it is very costly to replace complete cylinder body or the piston rod. And therefore whenever the wear and tear take place, we will replace this bush. So there is a bush is provided, and for avoiding the leakage, O-ring is provided. So this O-ring is here, which is act as a seal. So from here the oil not get the leakage. And another one arrangement, that this cylinder is there, this cylinder I have to mount to some part, because I want to make this cylinder fixed so that it will remain steady. And therefore here the arrangement for mounting is given. There are different type of the mountings are there for cylinder mountings. That is the separate bit we have to cover, cylinder mountings. But here for simplification, here is only one type of the mounting is provided here. So what I will do, I will take this mounting, and through this hole I will insert one nut and bolt, and this cylinder will be bolted to the body, to some part or to some machine part, and it will start working. So this is the actual construction of the double acting hydraulic cylinder. Understand? So there will be the piston ring is also provided, piston is also provided with piston rings, so that as you know that in IC engine there are some rings are provided, so piston rings. So here also this piston will be also provided with some piston rings. So now we'll see what are the different parts, and what is the function of the different part, and what are the materials, from which material that different parts are made. So in this first part of the cylinder is cylinder body or the tube. Generally it is a metal tube, small pressure hazer, in which piston reciprocate. Generally for making this cylinder body or the tube, it is seamless joint, and what material is used, aluminum alloy can be used, cold drawn low carbon steel can be used, stainless steel can be used, cast iron can be used, and titanium alloys also can be used. So some cylinder body or the some cylinder tube can be made from aluminum alloy, it can be made from cold drawn low carbon steel, it can be made from stainless steel, it can be made from cast iron, it can be made from titanium alloy. Now the selection of material depend upon how much amount of the load or how much amount of the pressure is there in the system, how much life of the component you want, how much is the working of that hydraulic cylinder. So there are so many parameters, and depending upon that parameters, the different type of the materials are used for manufacturing the cylinder body or the tube. Second part in the hydraulic cylinder is the piston. So what is the basic function of the piston? Generally piston take the pressure of oil coming into the cylinder, hence it must be very strong enough, and generally piston is made from the low carbon steel. So generally the piston is made from low carbon steel. I am talking about the hydraulic cylinders, not I am talking about the pneumatic cylinders. In pneumatic cylinder the material of piston or the cylinder body may be different, but as far as the hydraulic cylinder is concerned, the piston is made from low carbon steel. Okay, then third part is known as the piston rod. So piston rod is fitted to the piston, and it also undergoes stresses created by the pressure force of hydraulic oil. It is generally made up of stainless steel bar material. So piston rod is made from stainless steel bar material, right? Then front end cover. So whatever you have seen here, this part is known as the front end cover, and this part is known as the rear end cover. So this front end cover is fitted in tube by press fit from front side. This cover in houses oil passes, that is the port A is provided here. Rear end cover is similar to head end. It is also fitted the press fit, and it having the port B. Generally both these end covers are made up from cast steel or HG iron. So it is made from the cast steel or the HG iron. Then bush. So there is the bushing is provided. So bush seal is fitted on the cap end as shown in figure to avoid the leakage, and the bush is made from the brass, bronze, gunmetal. Generally the material for the bush is softer than the parent material, correct? Therefore it is made from the brass, bronze or gun material. So whenever the wear and take place, this brass, bronze and gun material wear early, and it will be very easy to replace only the bush part. So it is made from the softer material. And O-rings are provided. So O-ring is nothing but it is the seal. It is also provided for avoiding the leakage, and it is made from the rubber. So specialized rubber is used for making the O-ring. Generally when when you go into the market for purchasing of the hydraulic cylinder, so hydraulic cylinder are designated by some parameter, and there are only 3 parameters which define the hydraulic cylinder. And what are that 3 parameters? Number 1 parameter for defining the hydraulic cylinder is the diameter of piston. So what is the diameter of piston in mm? Second parameter, diameter of piston rod, and third diameter is stroke length of the piston. So if you go into the market, you will get the cylinder like X by Y dash Z, means X divided by Y dash Z. So X is known as the diameter of piston, Y is known as the diameter of piston rod, and Z is known as the stroke length of the cylinder in mm. So you will get the cylinder like this, 70 by 30 dash 320. Suppose you get in the market, you have the cylinder like this, 70 by 30 dash 320. So what is the meaning of this hydraulic cylinder? The meaning of this hydraulic cylinder is that it is the hydraulic cylinder having 70 mm piston diameter, 30 mm rod diameter, and 320 mm stroke length. The stroke length of this cylinder is 320 mm. Suppose I get 80 by 40 dash 200. 80 by 40 dash 200. It means 80 is the diameter of piston, 40 is the diameter of rod end, and 200 is the stroke length of that piston. So like this, the hydraulic cylinder are designated by 3 parameters: diameter of piston rod, and stroke length in mm. Alright. Now it is the third type of the cylinder you have to finish, which is known as the double acting cylinder with double piston rod. When you want to perform the work on both the sides of the piston stroke, so when the piston will move in this direction, here also you want to perform some work. When the piston will move in this direction, here also you want to perform some work. For that purpose, double acting cylinder with double rod piston is used. So what is the construction? Very simple. This is the cylinder body. There are the 2 ports A and B. This is the piston, and now you can see the chain. The piston is having the piston rod on the both end. On this end also there is a piston rod, and on this end also there is a piston rod is provided, right? So the work can be performed on this direction also and on this direction also, and this is the symbol for double acting double piston rod hydraulic cylinder. The next type of the hydraulic cylinder is known as tandem cylinder. Now tandem cylinder means what? When you have the very small cylinder diameter, means the cylinder is very small, but with that small cylinder you want to generate very large amount of the force, means you want to generate very high amount of the force. Now when you want to generate high amount of the force, what you have to do? You have to apply more amount of the pressure, right? And it is done in case of the tandem cylinder. So what is in case of the tandem cylinder? So this is the cylinder body, right? And there are number of pistons are there. So two pistons here, you can see piston 1 and piston 2. Two pistons are shown here. This is the inlet port A, right? Now this is the inlet port. There are the 4 ports are provided: A, B, C and D. So A is also inlet port, C is also inlet port, D is the discharge port, and B is also the discharge port, and in between there is a partition is provided there. So here is a partition is provided here. Now what will happen? And it is single rod, so the single rod is there. So what will happen when the oil will come from the pump? That oil will go through this A port also and this C port also. The oil will move from A port and C port. So when oil will move from A port, it will push this piston, and when oil will move from C port, it will push this piston, and more force can be exerted. Understand? And when the oil will move from D port and oil will move from B port, the piston will be again push into this direction. So more amount of the force is generated in case of the tandem cylinder, right? The main advantage of this tandem cylinder is that we can obtain double force with same size of the cylinder, and it is the symbol. So you can see two pistons are there, it is the partition is there, and 4 ports are there: A, B, C, D. 4 ports are there. Understand, boys? Now there is another one type of the cylinder which is known as the telescopic cylinder, or it is known as the telescope cylinder. So what is the telescope cylinder? Telescope cylinder is nothing but, you have seen the radio antenna, right? So that radio antenna, what happens? It comes out one stick is moves outside, and it becomes very small. And when you bring that all the sticks together, it becomes very small. So what happens when you want very large stroke length, very high stroke length, right? So you want very high stroke length with a very small length of the cylinder, that can be obtained by using the telescopic cylinder. So what is the in case of the telescopic cylinder is there? In telescopic cylinder, as you can say that 3 ramps are provided here. So this is one ram, this is second ram, and this is third ram: X, Y and Z. So when the oil will come here, this X part will move first. Then when the oil will go here, this Y part will also move, and when this oil will come, this Z part will also move. So you will get the more, what you get, the stroke length. So that is the main advantage. And here you can see the application of the dumper lifting is bucket. Here the application of the telescopic cylinder is shown. In tractor also you can see when that trolley is lifted back. So in there also, whatever the hydraulic cylinder is used, that is the telescopic hydraulic cylinder is used, right? And this is the symbol for telescopic hydraulic cylinder. So understand what these are the different type of the hydraulic cylinders. Now again I will open another one PowerPoint presentation. I will show some another type of the cylinders. So you can see that this PowerPoint presentation is made by our Kulkarni sir, and here also the Kulkarni sir have shown some hydraulic actuator. So this is single acting cylinder. So whatever we have seen, this is in single acting cylinder. There is another one type of the cylinder which is known as the gravity return. Whatever we see, that was known as the spring return, and this is known as the gravity return. Gravity return means what? Some weight is provided here. So you can see here some weight is provided. Due to this weight, what happens when the pump is disconnected? When the pump is disconnected, so due to this weight, this cylinder will move into the downward direction. So therefore it is known as the gravity return single acting cylinder. So right, understand? And this is spring return single acting cylinder, the symbol is there. This is spring return single acting cylinder, again the applications. Then you can see this is the construction part, whatever we have seen of double acting cylinder, inlet port, outlet port, same area here. Then I want to show here one thing, that yes, this is, I want to show that this is the a telescopic cylinder. So oil will come here, this will move, this will move, this will move. So in this very small length you can get very higher stroke length of the telescopic cylinder. Understand, this is tandem cylinder is shown here. This is ram cylinder, where this is the calculation of force and these are the symbols. Alright, so this is hydraulic cylinder. Now in tomorrow's lecture, so whatever lecture we will take tomorrow, the remaining part I will tell.